Hey everybody, welcome back to the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. I'm your host, Gordo Gambles, and welcome back to the full card breakdown. This time for UFC 313, we have ourselves a 12-fight slate, all headlined by Pereira and Ankalaev. It should be a fun card. I've had my fair share of technical difficulties. We're doing this one live. This will be a quick breakdown. Hopefully there are no audio or any other concerns on this end this time, but we're going to throw it up here. Got the odds behind me. Let's see how quickly we can run through this. As always, check me out on Twitter at gamblesgordo. Check out Established to Run for my full card premium DraftKings content. Check out CoolBet for my best bet and some boosted plays this week. And what is a pretty fun slate. I'm looking forward to it. Some tough fights. Let's not waste any more time. Let's dive in. First fight of the night, we have ourselves Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. Money coming in on Gutierrez on a short notice fight, and I tend to agree. I do pick myself some Chris Gutierrez as well this week. I do favor him to be the better distance manager, the better striker from distance. Good leg kicks go there as well. And I do think he has enough physicality and takedown defense to be able to stay upright in this spot here. I do think that he is someone who it's hard to trust at big chalk because he can be taken out of the spot. He can be outworked, but I think he has the ability to go out there and win this fight at a pretty good clip using that distance management and using the ability for him to win the optics with his striking overall. I'm just going to make sure that there are no audio concerns here. Yeah, and we're going to keep going. Sorry, I'm traumatized by the lack of audio I've had in my videos recently. But no, I do pick that one. Despite me picking Gutierrez to win overall on DraftKings, not a guy I'm looking to target too often. Not a very good DraftKings score. Scoring usually 75 points in a decision wins. Instead, I kind of lean towards the Castaneda side in tournaments because he's got wrestling upside. He's going to fight at a higher pace. I prefer him as an underdog this week, or as a favorite, actually, if I had to choose one of the two on DraftKings, but not my favorite priority target. Next up, we have Jordan Santos versus Osman Diaz, and this is a fun fight. I cashed a nice plus 750 underdog ticket by decision on Santos on Contender Series. I think that was more matchup oriented. I don't think this guy's that good in general. I think he's got good takedown defense, good athleticism, solid striking, but doesn't excel anywhere. I think he's going to lose a lot of these spots against high level of competition. Luckily for him, Ozzy Diaz is not really that much higher level of competition. I think that there is power on Diaz's side of things, but more times than not, I have to favor the athleticism, the point fighting of someone like Jordan Santos here. And I do think as the fight goes on, I favor him to go out there and be able to land the better shots and probably be the more durable of the two fighters. Ozzy Diaz does have power. Maybe he's able to land a big shot on Jordan Santos late, but more times than not, I think Santos takes over, probably lands a big shot on Diaz and tests that chin. That is definitely not the best there, but a lower confidence pick. Because of that volatility, though, a solid fight to target on DraftKings is a mid-play, contrarian type of play. We just went and talked about this on Established to Run with Brett, and this fight just ends up working out pretty good in that mid-range because there are so many boomer bust plays that this fight that should end by KO is definitely one you want to sprinkle in. I favor the Jordan Santos side of things, but not with the utmost confidence. We then have Marion Santos taking on Francis Marshall, and this is a fight that I absolutely love. I love me some Francis Marshall. I seem to be higher on the field than a lot of people out here this week, but 24 years old, training over to ATT, good young fighter, making a lot of improvements. I think he's the much better level of competition faced fighter, and also a guy with a very well-rounded skill set. Can shoot takedowns, can strike on the feet, pretty durable, good cardio. Marion Santos is good. He has got great power in his hands, great striking, but has not fought a good level of competition, was ragdolled on the Ultimate Fighter there on the ground. And I do think that Marshall has the advantage on the ground, has fought the way better level of competition, and this line is just disrespectful. If it was even, sure, give me the power of Santos to win the striking exchanges, but at these price tags, give me Marshall. I'll probably end up there on the money line, and I'll take him on DraftKings due to his wrestling upside. I do think he's able to go out there, land takedowns, match the pace, match the cardio, and has good durability to stand on the feet there as long as he's able to work in that wrestling and decides to go that route. I do like me some Francis Marshall. If you think Santos is able to get that knockout, solid play up top, but boom or bust, and I prefer the other options. Leal versus Morono, another wide line. Not going to spend too much time on this one because Morono's probably able to keep up in the boxing, but it's just the power, the athleticism, and the KO upside of someone as juiced as Leal, who's on all the steroids right now. You have to favor Leal, maybe not to a minus 1,000 price tag, but more times than not, he is the way more durable fighter. He probably wins by knockout. Morono's chin durability is not there right now. Although Morono can keep up with the volume, he's probably going to get hit in the chin a couple times, and he doesn't have the wrestling equity to really win this fight either. I think it's going to be the forward pressing style of Leal here, the KO upside, the power he has to win the moments and probably get a finish. Because of that, a 9.6K, I'll sprinkle him in. There's some dogs I like. I just talked about Marshall. We'll talk about others later. I'm willing to sprinkle in some Leal at 9.6. He does have KO upside, but definitely not a must play. There's some very weird boomer bust options up top that there's no need to force it. We then have Bruno Ferreira versus Armor Petrosian. A much better fight here. I think it's going to be a really close one. I'm all over Petrosian this week. I picked him to beat Share a Bullet, and you know what? You can't really factor in double spinning back fists, but I do think he's a guy who should be favored in the spot. Larger fighter, better minute winning metrics, better volume. And although Ferreira has a ton of power, Petrosian is still pretty durable. I do think he's able to go out there, withstand the early storm, and probably take over late, getting a later finish. You do have to account for the power Pereira has, and maybe he's a solid option on DraftKings because he's got early KO upside. So at 7.6K, I'll be sprinkling some of him in. He scores pretty well on his wins, but more times than not, Petrosian's able to take over. I do think Petrosian's able to get a finish of his own right, making him a very solid play at 8.6K. I like this fight as a whole. I do think it's inside the distance, but give me Armin Petrosian. We then have probably my favorite fight of the night, Ray Tazura versus Joshua Van, striker versus grappler matchup to the extreme. You have a wrestler, a junior champion or whatever he may be in Tazura, who has been wrestling his whole life but has no striking. This guy in Van has been grappling for like 2 years, who has the most beautiful striking going head to head. And I do think that the later this fight goes, the more it favors Van, but Van gets off to a slow start all the time. He starts slow, he gives up takedowns early, and that's not something you want to do against Tazura. He is super aggressive with his submission, him hunting submissions. He is very crafty with it down there as well. And I do think he's going to get takedowns at will in the first round, considering how slow Van starts. So as the fight starts, give me Tazura, but I would rather a live entry on Van. I do think the longer this fight goes, the more it favors him. Van has beautiful strike, will walk people down, and has a ton of power. So Tazura to win, but Van round 3, maybe a live entry. I do think that Tazura is being a bit overlooked this week as a phenomenal grappling prospect who is really going to test the wrestling of Van, a guy who's been taken down multiple times before. On DraftKings, though, Tazura, one of my favorite plays because 7.4K, he's not winning this fight without getting either a submission or 4, 5, 6 takedowns because he's not striking with Van. His ceiling is so high this week. I love his wrestling. I love his submission upside, and I do expect Van to be very popular, so a decent contrarian play. Van's ceiling may be limited if he loses that first round being taken down, but a guy who scored great, so I'll have to sprinkle some of him in as well. But give me Tazura. I really do like him here. Blades Kunaev, I don't even want to talk about this fight. Kunaev was on horse tranquilizers or all the steroids, and now he's a larger dude facing a top 5, top 10 guy in Blades who's just super untrustworthy. I think Blade's the better boxer. I think Blade's the better pure wrestler, shall he go there. But due to the durability concerns of Blade, due to the fact that if Kunaev just ends up on top, he could probably pound out Blades with how big Kunaev is. It's hard to trust Blade at that price tag, but I do think he wins. I think he's more metrics to get it done. I'm just worried it may come by a 15-minute boxing affair because of how durable Kunaev is. Because the heavyweight variance, I'll play some of this on DraftKings, but definitely not my favorite fight in the card. I think there's so much variance in this one. It's hard to be too confident in either side. I picked Blades. Maybe by decision could be a good sprinkle in the bet, but I will be playing both of them on DraftKings due to cover my bases, but no big flag playing here. Definitely not my favorite fight in the card. Then have Bobby Green versus Marcio Rufi. Super fun fight, and it's going to be one of two ways, in my opinion. This one I can put my flag down and say Rufi by KO, Bobby Green by decision. Those are the two ways to look at it. I think Green's going to be winning this fight until he's not. Rufi's got a ton of power, but very low minute-winning optics. Like he doesn't throw a lot of volume. He doesn't wrestle very often. He needs to get that knockout shot, or else Bobby Green's going to drown him in volume. Sorry, King Green, whatever you want to call him, is going to drown him in volume. So Rufi's got power. Green keeps his hands low, and I do think Green can be knocked out here. But the longer this fight gets extended, the more Bobby Green is live. DraftKings, I prefer Leal to Rufi straight up. But I do think Rufi has some KO upside. You have to think this is path to victory is an early KO, and I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he got it. So willing to play into some upside. Very robust, though, because if this fight makes it a round 1, he probably doesn't score well on DraftKings. We have Lemos versus Lucindo. Short breakdown on this one because not the most interested in either. On DraftKings, I guess there's some wrestling upside for Lucindo, but not my favorite fight. I think Lucindo's a better minute winner here. More volume on the feet, will actively shoot takedowns, is someone who will fight a good pace young fighter, but Lemos can snatch up a guillotine. She's got power. I think she's got more moment winning ability, but I'm not going to go out there and smash the money on Lucindo. I think it could go a multitude of ways. However, I did pick Lucindo. I do think she has some grappling upside. If I had to pick one of the two, it'd probably be Lucindo on DraftKings and on Moneyline, but not my favorite fight in the card. We'll probably go elsewhere, including this next one. That next one is Jalen Turner, Ignacio Bahamondes, my second favorite fight in the card, behind that Tazura Van 1. Super high pace, 100% finish rate, Jalen Turner, and one of the nicest fighters I've ever met. Super nice guy. Will go out there, has a ton of power on the feet, has a very apt submission game there if he wants to go after it as well, and a very, very fun fighter to watch. Ignacio Bahamondes, longer length, longer reach, very good technical striker in his own right, but has been rocked, has never been finished, or has not been KO'd, but has been rocked, can be taken down, and I do think it makes it for a good war. Jalen Turner has slowed down. He has been hit, but I do think that he can go out there and grapple. I do think he does have power, and I think he's going to go out there and either kill or get killed, and that's going to make for a super fun fight. I ended up slightly leaning towards the Turner side of things, but I would not be disgusted if he took Bahamondes. I think the winner of the fight is going to score very, very well. I just like the potential grappling path for someone like Turner, shall he decide to go on it. DraftKings-wise, though, probably my favorite fight to target. Either the high pace of Turner is going to allow him to score very well, 100% finish rate. He has never scored below 108 points on DraftKings. Love that. or he's going to allow for Bahamondes to accumulate strikes and score very well in his own right. I think the winner scores very well. I lean towards the Turner side of things, but Bahamonde at 8.2K is very live as well. Co-main event, Gaethje versus Fiziev. Shout out to Fiziev on the short notice here. I thought he won their last matchup, but regardless, we get a matchup here. Let's see how it goes. In a 15-minute striking affair, you have to favor Fiziev a lot of the time. Yes, he's got cardio concerns. Yes, he's coming off ACL reconstruction, but Gaethje's coming off a bad knockout. I favor Fiziev the better of the two strikers. It's just Gaethje's got more pace, he's got more cardio, and he's able to be in a brawl a lot of the times there. However, I thought Fiziev won the last one, and I think he probably wins this one again here. I favor the durability from Fiziev. I favor him probably being the more damaging output striker, like he's going to look better with the moments. And I do think he is someone who was training for a camp, should be prepared and ready to build off of the reads he made last fight. Again, though, Gaethje's not a guy you can count out. A lot of volume, a lot of heart. He's definitely going to put it for a great fight. I just ended up picking Fiziev. On DraftKings-wise, though, unless Fiziev gets a knockout, this fight's not scoring well. 77 last time for Gaethje. If Fiziev would have won like I thought he did, 69 points. So at 8.4 and 7.8, not a must-play on DraftKings by any mean. I think it's a 15-minute striking affair and one that probably does not score the best. However, I did pick Gaethje. And the main event, Pereira versus Ankalaev. I think this one's super fun. I'm picking Ankalaev. And let me first say, it's hard to go against someone with the aura and the shama of someone like Pereira, but Ankalaev has more pass. He can wrestle. He can go out there. I think he can keep up in the striking as well. He doesn't absorb that much damage for him to go out there and get knocked out at a high clip by Pereira. And with a guy with the wrestling pedigree of Ankalaev, you have to think that he can go out there and take him down. I mean, I bet on Pereira against Blachowicz, and Blachowicz dominated him on the mat there for the times he wasn't gassed out at elevation. So I think Ankalaev is being a bit disrespected here. I think he should be a larger favorite. I did pick him. I'm not looking into Ramadan or any other metrics. I think there are more paths for Ankalaev to win this fight, and therefore I picked him. And I do think he uses wrestling early and often, which would make him a hindsight large favorite. I did pick Ankalaev. Because then on DraftKings, 7.9K will be playing him. Wrestling upside, I think he wins this fight more than line it tails. He will be very popular, but I'm willing to play him. We'll see if I get there on a bet, but I did pick Ankalaev. That's going to do it for me on the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. Quick fire. Quickest video I've ever done. I apologize for the technical difficulty. We should be all good and ready to go next week. Let me quickly give my quick picks, though. We're taking Ankalaev, Fiziev, Jalen Turner, Yasmin Lucindo, Marcio Ruffy, Curtis Blades, Ray Chizura, Armin Petrosian, Carlos Leal, Francis Marshall, Jordan Santos, and Chris Gutierrez. DraftKings-wise, boomer bust plays up top. I think that I prefer Leal or Blades with their upside. In the mid-range, Petrosian could score very well. I love the Bahamondes and Turner fight. It's probably my favorite fight. And I do think underdog-wise, Ankalaev, Pereira with KO upside, and then Chizura and Marshall are the guys that are going to the most with their grappling upside. No bets locked in yet, but, one bet locked in. I did play some Chris Gutierrez at plus 100. Aside from that, though, check me out on Twitter at gamblesgordo to see my full card of bets. And yeah, shorter video, so if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. I will have a best bet video out later this week, sponsored by CoolBet, but just want to make sure I get something out there despite all the technical difficulties I've had. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I wish you all the best of luck in all your DraftKings and betting endeavors this weekend, guys, and let's make some money. Cheers, guys, and enjoy the fights.